Welcome to
Steven&Chaddy.
This is a podcast where we talk about everything that affects the everyday American family and other families as a whole. Now, some of the things we're talking about in reference to relationship, which is today specifically, what we're focusing on is weaponized incompetence. Now, what is that? First off, weaponized incompetence is a silent killer in relationships. And I'm going to tell you why. But first, let us define the actual definition for you. Go ahead, Daddy, take that.
The act of deliberately performing a task poorly, inadequately, or claiming incompetence to avoid responsibility. That is what weaponized incompetence is.
Now, why it matters. Its presence in relationships fosters resentment, imbalance, and emotional disconnection, which a lot of people are dealing with right now. And especially if you have a feeling like I'm being used or something of that nature, it's probably got something to do with this. Because it's quite common.
Matter of fact, it's a phenomenon when it comes to relationships, both in marriage and dating, from the perspectives of both genders, male and female.
See, it's not just the woman or the man. Both parties partake, which is mind-boggling to me because this is not something that I do or that my husband does. But this is a lot of things, like even my best friend going through this right now, and has been for the last 9 years, secretly, and hasn't said anything about it. So being there for my girl, listening to my girl, helping her get her stuff together and her ducks in a row, I found out about this. Like, it was mind-boggling to me that people are actually putting this is happening, period. Now let's get to understanding the dynamics of it. So go ahead, Daddy.
Well, when we get to understand the dynamics of weaponized incompetence, you got to understand there's origins to it. And a lot of those origins go back to cultural conditioning and traditional gender roles. Also, it's when it really comes down to it, no matter who it is, male or female, husband, wife, it comes down to fear of accountability or the effort of learning new skills. Yeah.
That's deep. That's deep because it puts some things in perspective, even if you think about past relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, so that's what that was. Because, even the listener, who's listening now, it ought to put some things in perspective for you in different relationships that you've been in your past. Or maybe the one you're in now. So let's talk about how it manifests. For example, from the perspective of the men, you might get something like, I don't know how to clean properly. You're just better at it than I am.
Or from a woman, it could be, I can't handle finances. You're better at it. Or exaggerating helplessness to avoid challenging tasks.
See, that's not okay. Cleaning is not specific to the woman. It's not specific to the man. Housework is not specific to the woman. It ain't specific to the man. Your job don't stop when you get off work. See, that's the problem. I'm going to give you a little quote that divorce judge lady has said. She said, work your marriage like a job. See, but I added on to that. I said, work your marriage like a job. Stop expecting marriage to be good and work to make it good. That's where it's at. So when you got this dynamic happening, you got one who's either being too dependent and who just wants a caretaker. And then you have that's on behalf of the statement that we gave for the man based off that scenario. And then for the women that can't handle the finances, this just a lack of accountability. And so if there's an issue, you can't say, I didn't know. I didn't know it wasn't that much. Excuse my son, he's sipping soup. But I didn't know it was, that bad. I didn't know. Or that helpless, like, to avoid being challenged or Again, taking on accountability. So let's go into the subtle versus the blatant examples. You want to take this one?
Yeah, and just to add on to what you were saying, let's just all keep in mind that these roles can be changed. It's not just cleaning for the men or finances for the women. Sometimes it can be for the children, yeah, and then also it can be vice versa. Because in today's age, we have a lot of women who are the breadwinners in the home, who are taking the responsibility of doing the job, taking the job role, and going out getting the bacon. And you have men that are okay with being homemakers, with being and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just understanding and realizing that there is a balance. No matter who's in the role or what's going on, who's doing what, there shouldn't be just one particular assigned role. Each person's role is supposed to be to cooperate with the other on each front, on every part of the home front.
Exactly. And I think we can even talk before we go into subtle versus blatant examples. Well, you know what? Let's go into it because this goes back into it. It's right on topic. The passive reluctance versus outright refusal. The task handoff. You handle it because I can. Now let's take some examples from my bestie's relationship. 9-10 years in. He has never watched the children, right? And he can't do that. He's only capable of bringing home the check. Now you can grope, kiss, which I'm all for. Grope me, touch your titty, grab an ass. I like it, but I want intimacy. Now, from her perspective, that intimacy was not there. You got the groping, the quick uck and suck, but what happens to the intimacy? What happened to building up the steam, before the foreplay? What happened to courting me? And that's what we're missing specifically in their space. And it's happening all over, not just from the woman's perspective, but from the man's too.
And as men, we have to understand, and women too, because you got women out there that do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You got to understand that the game starts before you hit the bedroom. I mean, you can talk a big game, or I can do this to you, do that to you, and, really get them riled up. But honestly, the courtship is something that's becoming a rare thing nowadays. The courtship of really dating that person, getting to know that person, really discovering that person from the inside out, and taking that time to really understand where each other are coming from. That's what makes the intimacy more intimate, in my opinion, because when you do that, when you take that next level, when you go to that next level, when you're ready to hit the bedroom, I mean, there's an understanding and an understanding between one another that is just incomparable between any and everything. It becomes more than just an action at that point.
Or a sexual encounter.
It becomes something way deeper than that. And for those who are deep in a relationship or even married, that's something that you want to keep stimulated for years to come. So as one wise saying that I've always took to heart is that you always have to treat every day like your first date. You're always dating the person. You're dating this person for life. So that's something that one should really take into consideration.
Go ahead, Daddy. I'm asking.
Okay, so when we go into the emotional and practical impact, since we're talking about this, on the overburdened partner, increased mental load and burnout, feeling undervalued and unsupported are some of the key factors when it comes to weaponized incompetence. So on the relationship front, this breeds resentment and power imbalances.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just talking about that. It has to be a balance.
Can I give an example of a power imbalance?
Sure.
Again, from Bestie's perspective right now, and I'm going off that, not saying no names and stuff to respect her space, but she don't mind me saying examples. Now, it's more than just bringing home the check. Now, that breeding of resentment and power imbalance is when you say, "Well, I bring home the money." So when you come home, you don't clean. You don't clean up behind yourself. You expect that because she's with the children, that the house has to be spotless. And she already trying to make her own way financially. And because she gave up her income for him. That also breeds about a resentment and power imbalance. And it goes into the next one, undermining teamwork and mutual respect. That's why I stand on that firm. Do not ever, ever, ever give your income up. I don't care if it's a woman or man, unless you know that they are someone that you can trust, for a lifetime. Now, I know that Steve is somebody I can trust for a lifetime. We have 10 plus years of friendship before we even got married. Before we even started dating. I know that I can trust this man forever. Because in my most vulnerable opportunities, when he could have been taking advantage of me, he didn't. And so, I would hope vice versa for you, correct?
Exactly. I was just waiting for my time. It's exactly the same way that I feel about her. Because in my most vulnerable moment, I used to be a truck driver, and I got into an accident, which was career ending, and which led to ultimately a career change. But during that time of transitioning, I mean, I was not the breadwinner, and I really got to see things from a whole nother perspective as far as our relationship. Because I still helped on the home front, but I wasn't helping as much as I am today because I was still doing the 9 to 5s, getting up every morning, going to work, coming back late at night, trucker hours, 14 hours plus, But when I came back home, I mean, it was little to nothing left to do, but I would do my part. But being at home during that time, 24/7, I mean, you really got to see different levels to what it takes to really maintain a house and home, and the amount of stress, the amount of responsibility, and how many tasks there are. I mean, taking care of a home is basically a 9 to 5 in itself.
Oh, it is a 9 to 5. Ain't no basically, it is, because when you wake up, you gotta, and that's the thing too. When you wake up, getting started, you got some women who's so busy and don't know how to time management or load manage. And because it's new, that's a shock. And so when you don't know how to load manage, a lot of the women start gaining weight, they start losing their shape, and then that complaining too, from Bestie's perspective. Excuse you? You're not helping with one damn thing. You don't even watch your own kids. You don't even make them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Excuse you?
And that really takes a toll on the children. It takes because it's more than just maintaining this macho role, or however you want to put it, to where, I make the money, I do this, I do that, I come back home and I expect everything to be. You're setting an example, a poor example for your children, whether it be your sons, daughters, both.
This is teamwork.
You're literally showing a model of unhealthy dynamics to your future generations. So that's something that you have to be very mindful of. It's a respect factor that comes into this cooperation.
And before we move on, I want to touch on that. You will make your children start to resent you as well.
Oh, yeah.
From the partner that's resenting you already, from a perspective of having to carry all of that load. That child is going to see how you're putting that load on, whether it's the stay-at-home father or the stay-at-home mother. Vice versa, however it goes, however that dynamic is. The child is going to say, okay. Because I kid you not, like, it starts and they're watching. So what you don't want to do is create an enemy out of your own child. And oftentimes, that's what happens. That's truly what happens. And that's where You have to address the weaponized incompetence. You have to recognize it first, because that's the only way it's going to get somewhere. In recognizing and being aware of what it is. So signs, let's talk about the signs of it. The signs include consistently needing to correct or redo tasks, or feeling manipulated, or almost like feeling like you have to baby who you're with. I guess the best sign of that is an overly needy person. Without being name calling. That's the best way I can describe it. An overly needy person. And then, I guess the best way to deal with that will be to effectively communicate. Because what you don't want to do is make the situation hostile.
Got visual here.
And 9 times out of 10, you might be dealing with somebody who know what they are doing. And so you just need to be careful with how you approach the conversations, without blame, but with clear examples. Use things like "I feel," statements to express the emotional impact, and set boundaries. Now, if you get met with a lot of anger, hatred, okay, that's a moment. Give them time to adjust, but that time to adjust don't benefit them, and they still have that resentment and anger towards you for expressing yourself. That is a high sign of a red flag right there. And you need to be cautious with that. Because what that means is you better start getting your ducks in a row. Especially if you don't gave, similar like my bestie did. Gave up her income, gave up her car, everything that was in her name, because he supposedly wants to take care of her. And I'm all for it. She really wants him. That is the man she wants. She wants him to be her person. But yet, my bestie have a good emotional intelligence. She wants him to be her person, but she wants herself more. She's not willing to lose herself. So she getting her ducks in a row. And as a bestie, I'm helping her do that. So when you're coming into this area, you need to figure out if are you dealing with a man who don't actually know that he's doing this, or a woman who don't actually know that I'm doing. Oh, okay. Because there are some things my husband done brought to my perspective about our relationship. I was like, you feel that way? He said, yeah. I said, okay. I'm sorry. What can I say? You're just being dramatic. You're just having those type of dialogue, right?
Yeah. Same thing.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, same thing with with her. She brought a lot of things to my attention, and it was a lot of adjustments that needed to be made for us to get to where we are today. Yet the main thing is sticking with it and being accepting of what's being given. And it's easier to accept things when you are approaching without blame. And because especially if you have those that are fight or flight in a relationship, either they're going to argue you down to the bone, or they're going to flee from the argument and go somewhere, or try to relieve themselves by going to the bar, or going to
in some cases. What I just found out today, which hurt me, because I felt like I wasn't being a good Niji. Niji we're American Indian, so we don't say friend. Friend is by religious context, religious association.
Niji Kewa.
So we don't say that because we're not religious, nor are we into those things. So we say Niji Kewa. That's our term. But I felt like I wasn't a Niji, a good one. Like I didn't have my girl's back, because I didn't know that, because she told me she passed the test some years ago, but she kind of knew it would possibly end up here. But even though she still wants him to be her person, she's going to take care of herself. And she shared with me how it got physical. And he pinned her up against the wall. And she had to gouge her thumb in his eye. And she's like, I'm not scared of you. I'm smaller than you. And she said, but you're going to have to kill me, because I'm going to kill you first. And he is, kind of backed off, and it never happened again. She passed the test because he knew he couldn't do what he wanted to do. But we're back at this situation, and it's a little scary for me as her Niji, because I'm like, I know you want this, and I got your back. But should you? But she's a grown woman, so I'll have to step back and be there. I don't always understand, and she don't always understand. We don't always understand where each other is, but I'm always have her back. And that's similar to what marriage works like. We don't always understand where each other are. It's the boundaries being set. But we're always going to have each other's back. And although she's my best friend in relation to my husband, that goes 100-fold. Because now, it's like, even like we said, the different things that came to light from both of us to each other. It's, so first you want to get mad and touchy, but you got to take a second step back and say, hey, am I really doing this? Have a moment of self-reflection, because you got to look at too. If you having kids, your kids is watching. Your kids is learning how to communicate through you. Whether you have, like for example, we got 3 sons and 3 daughters. Exactly, like split down the middle. So, I'm teaching my sons, for one, how a woman is supposed to respond to a man. And for 2, I'm also teaching them what it looks like when a woman takes accountability for her role in things. So, and what it looks like for her to be able to be honest. And so that honest approach and self-reflection is important. You've got to be able to self-reflect when you are in a relationship, specifically being married, because it is a legal contract. It's a legal contract, but I think we should, before we move on, talk about what marriage is truly. Because in the sense of metaphysical, it's now everything is y'all. It's we, it's us together. And that we and us is like, should I say, a system. There has to be a system in place for this we and us to be able to sustain long term. And if it's not a effective, sustainable, closed loop system that feeds you and feeds you life and breathes life into it and strength into it, then it cannot grow into what it needs to. Because, you don't never hear the term, the statement, when you don't ever hear, I want to grow with you. You hear, for better or worse. No, that's blanketed. Don't take that. It's for growing through our good and our bad, our best and our worst. Can you grow with this person? Can you respect that boundary within marriage to say, okay, I don't understand what Steve is right now. Or for Steve to say, I don't understand what Chaddy is right now. But I'm here. I'm here. If you can't do that, then maybe you don't need to be in a relationship. And we can move on.
And just to piggyback on that, just like I said, like you said, rather, the key thing is just being willing to grow with one another. Understanding where each other are, growing with each other through thick or thin, and not being afraid to grow, because that's where the incompetence comes from. Is not having that courage to grow. You have to have that courage to grow. And the only way that you can truly establish boundaries is by coming through mutual agreement, defining the expectations and shared responsibilities clearly, and sticking to the agreed upon standards for the task. Once you guys have realized and seen each other for who each other are, and recognize where each other are as far as where you guys need to grow from, then it's giving each other that respect to grow and agree with one another that this is what you guys have to work on coming on forward.
And regularly check on one another. Okay, it'll be random. I could be playing a game with you while y'all watching it over our gameplay. Because that's what we do. We play games, we trade the markets. I mean, that's our life, you know. And we constantly educate. We homeschool all 6 of our kids. So you got to carve out space for that too. Because our kids is with us all the damn time. There's very little breaks there. So carving out that time where we keeping us good, and that involves when we playing, whether it's separate or as a team up on our games. I'm saying, hey, you know, you feeling okay? Like, is there anything you want to talk to me about? Is there any, just, you know, do you feel any discrepancies? What's up? And I know that sounds kind of really business oriented, but marriage is a business. It's a legal business. It's like you file taxes together.
Yep.
It is.
You
But at the,
regularly check in on the division of labor.
right. But at the same time, understand that these is 2 self-employed jobs here. This is a self-employed job, brother. There's no co-founder or no, sorry, there's no CEO. You have 2 co-founders here of this relationship.
Yep. You're not employer and employee. You're co-founders.
You're co-founder.
The kids are the employees.
Hell no. Don't be doing my game of slave labor on my babies. like just keeping that in mind. And then a big thing a big hurdle is overcoming the gender stereotypes. Oh, my husband can't comfort our sons. I'm pretty brash as a parent. I'm straight to the damn point. I do not stand for sparing feelings, because if I spare you, you don't know what this emotion feels like. I'm sheltering you from this emotion. So when you become an adult and it hits you, you're going to spiral because you don't know how to deal with it now. You didn't learn how to deal with it as a child, so you definitely can't deal with it as an adult. So I'm kind of brash, just, hey, getting to the point, like, you know, stop with that. Get it together.
I'm definitely the more gentle parent. I'll finally admit that. It took me a while to acknowledge it, but I am.
But that's because the stereotyping. That means, oh, you're weak, or no, that's not what it means. That's, to me, is a strong man. I would prefer a man that ain't out there acting all rah, tough and shit. And no, don't get it twisted. He can meet your tough. I like that. But I'm the same way. I'm subtle. I like to compliment. I like to kick it. I like to have fun. Now, I can meet your tough, but I ain't got to act all tough all the time. I can meet it if I need to. I can switch it on. But I'd rather leave it off. And my husband, with the children, he's more gentle, more nurturing. And he's actually taught me how to say, okay, so maybe not so hard next time. Like, you can pull back a little bit. Ease up. Chill out. And at first, I used to take that offensive, but it's just being able to, again, to self-reflect, even when it comes to your kids. So sometimes when I'm too brash, I'm quick. I know some of y'all probably grew up with parents who do not apologize. I apologize to my kids all the time because my kids need to know that I'm very flawed.
Which isn't a bad thing.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
It's very noble, and it's something that, you know, I had to take note on as well, because being a single child, an introvert at heart, you know, and I didn't look for apologies, and, you know, it wasn't expected. But when I saw that being a parent, co-parenting, seeing Chaddy as a mother is not afraid to come out and say, I apologize, I'm sorry for this. It really showed me another way of nurturing, because it's not about just standing firm and, you know, standing on business, as people would say, with, you know, I said what I said and that's all that I said because that's how it goes. It's more so, okay, I may have said what I said, but what I've said was probably wrong. It was wrong in this situation.
Or it was delivered the wrong way.
Right.
The delivery system itself.
Right. So, you know, just is allowing yourself to take a step outside of yourself and really read the room and see, you know, how could things have gone differently? How could you improve the situation rather than cause more conflict or more, tension within the same time, because it's parenting period. Co-parenting and parenting is not a fear tactic. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to earn your respect through fear.
And I'm going to say this. Weaponized incompetence can be used from parent to child.
Definitely.
It can be. Very, very much so. And us as parents have to realize if we're doing it to our significant other, our husband, our wife, whatever, you're most likely doing it to your child.
The kids will always be affected no matter what you do, no matter what you say to each other. The kids are always listening, and they are always going to do.
Oh, they taking note.
They're going to always do what they see, whether you see it or not.
And so be the example. Be the living and walking and breathing example. And then by breaking the cultural norms, discussing the harmful legacy of traditional gender roles. My son knows it's okay to be sensitive to what his sisters need. But he also knows it's okay to say, no, okay, now you're using me. Stop that shit. He knows that those boundaries are in place. We have taught him that. And he just turned 10. He just turned 10 on the 4th of this month. So, it's like, okay. And he gets it. Because now you hear him checking it, they be playing. And then when they get too crazy, he check them. And vice versa. Girls be playing with him, when he get too crazy, they check him. But they understand. They do it without being rude. And when we hear him being rude, it's okay. We correct that. So you could have said that better. You didn't have to say that like that. You could have did this. Because they see us do it. And so we're encouraging in our relationship, encouraging equal partnership models in relationships, and therefore we've started to practice that with our children, from their dynamic to brother and sister, and from female to male. So we're practicing that all the way around. We're encouraging that, all the way around.
Yeah, and it comes down to empowering one another as partners, as a couple. For men, for instance, taking responsibility for traditionally female-coded tasks. If you don't feel like, or if you've always been told that cleaning the house is a woman's job, or cooking is a woman's job.
Try doing
take some time out to learn, get some cooking lessons. YouTube University, man.
Just have a day with your significant other and actually do it with them. See how much it actually takes. Me and my husband do all the cooking together. We do the cleaning together. If he out and about, I do the cleaning. I'm out and about, he do the cleaning. It don't matter. And vice versa with the bills. We do that together. Although we have bank accounts together. We do have some separate bank accounts. But we always know what's going on. And I know some people like, okay. I was always taught to have that to myself. If you're dealing with a narcissistic person, and you're dealing with a person that, she said it best, it's at Abby Eckel, ABBYECKEL on TikTok. She said it best. Controllers want caretakers. Real men want you safe, happy, and they just want a partner. And it goes for men and women. Because you have women who can also be controllers.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure you're not lending to that stereotype, or even leaning that way, because you're going to cause tension in your marriage. Resentment will come about if you never help with those things, and you never say, well, you know what, you know dishes all week, I got today off, I got it, I got the house, sit down and relax. Understand that she probably ain't going to sit down and relax. She just going to say, let me help. And then that brings about new quality time, new talking points, and it makes her want to be more with you even more. Vice versa, makes him want to be with you even more. And sometimes I'll just randomly rub my husband's feet, or just do different things, or it just sometimes stepping out of your world. Although y'all married, and you think it's one big world, it's not. You're still individuals. Stepping out of your own little personal world and stepping into theirs will do a world of difference.
And if you're a woman, build confidence in traditionally masculine coded areas like finances or household affairs. You know, don't be afraid to get up under that sink. You know, we find that sexy. You know, you try to learn how to fix things around the house or even with the car and stuff. And that was one of the sexiest things I ever seen my wife do. Was what did you do? You changed the oil on the car? I believe.
Changed oil or something.
Yeah,
I think it's a radiator.
Yeah, so man, that's something that it was a bonding, something you can bond with, and also just showing that if a woman is.
I can't do it again now. It's been so long. Y'all, I gotta watch you do university first.
Yeah, but if a woman,
it's been so long.
The bottom line is, if a woman is not afraid to get her hands dirty, I mean, that just shows that the lengths that she will go as a woman to preserve the relationship. You know, so it's a beautiful thing to see that when we eliminate the masculine and feminine roles and interchange with one another and show each other how these things are done. Spend that time to learn and teach, you know, and cooperate and apply. You know, it's great. It's a great feeling. So we're gonna move on to the tools and strategies.
Well, I wanted to talk about the finances again.
Oh, hey, okay, go ahead.
Okay, the finances and the women. I've been seeing a surge in this lately, but I think step into it. Understand the 401k, the 501 life plan, I think it's called IULs. Understanding the foreign currency exchange market. Understanding futures and options. I mean, understanding real estate and how to use it, crypto. I mean, really, take your time because architecture, food, nutrition, and money is my thing. Okay, that's my thing. That's what I like. And so, especially when I'm getting into finances, that's what I like to do. And civil, like, you know, social, like, what is it called? What do I be doing when I'm making the initiatives? Like, I guess social justice in a way. I don't know. For lack of better words, that's what I'm using right now because I make initiatives. I have a business where I create full, like sustainable closed loop systems that eradicate systems that don't work and build upon it, and so that they build their own endowments and they no longer need government funding and things like that. So I have a business that actually does that, but and some nonprofits that we run. But it's like just really taking those things into account, like dive deep into them. Don't be scared. Look up things like Wise Trade, WYSTRADE. He right there on YouTube. You can follow his links and buy his stuff. Him and Juver's Gym, top notch. But look into that stuff. That stuff, you start realizing you don't have to sit here and struggle. Because we ain't really politics. We don't even vote. So we don't worry about all that stuff. We just focus on the things we can change. And the things we have direct impact on. And that is our child's life. That's the people's lives around us. And our own lives. So making sure that, you know, for me as a woman, it was important. Especially when I realized I didn't want to be in the medical field no more. Or I didn't want to do diesel work no more. Because I used to work with diesels. I didn't want to do mechanic work no more. And some other jobs I don't want to do anymore. I realized, like, you know, there's more out there. And I started turning into the financial world. I was like, man, so people do not have to struggle if our people understood how easy it was to make money. And I think it's important because you got so many of the trad wives right now. You know that movement, trad wife movement, where these are things they can learn in 90 to 100 days if they really just gave their time. They said, no, I'm doing this for me. In 90 to 100 days, depending on your focus level, your life can be drastically different.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just have to pay attention. And not because all the money gonna fall in your hands and things like that, but finances is important for one's self-autonomy. And that goes for the man too. And understanding that we meet here together. We do this trading. Trading ain't just my thing. We do this together. You know? So
it just comes to properly managing the household.
right.
You know, no politician can show you how to properly handle your house. You know, you are the politician, you are the judge, you are the lawyer, you are the co-founder. This is your business. Your household is your business and your business alone. And proper management is key. It's a practical resource. And that goes into our tools and strategies when it comes to practical resources, household management, apps to share tasks transparently, tutorials and guides for learning new skills together. You can seek professional help. I mean, that's something that you can never, rule out. Therapy, counseling, for couples to address underlying issues. Sometimes we need a little outside help. Sometimes a third opinion, a professional opinion, is needed and wanted, in some cases. But ultimately, you are the one who have to make that decision and hold each other accountable, because it's accountability with partners. Friends or mentors to encourage mutual and growth is good. Ultimately, that's what we mean by that outside help, accountability partners. Find other couples, that are going through, having the same situation, or having, going through those transitional periods and stuff, and having that person that you can talk to, having another man, as a man, having another man to, bounce some things off of with, and, well, hey, things work with my wife, and this is, I'm doing with my wife, and, this is something that I have to work on. And when you build that fraternity of brotherhood, and I'm not talking about no fresh and fit, know-it-all people that just want to try to dominate and be, that's a red flag. The whole dominance, and it all comes down to cooperation, mutual energy. A true man knows how to balance the feminine and the masculine. There's no over dominance of any kind.
Because depending on what you're dealing with.
Right.
One situation may require it. Especially when you're dealing with your children.
Oh yeah.
And to insert that, you have to be open-minded here. Open-mindedness is a requirement.
Sharing relatable anecdotes from both perspectives to illustrate the harm caused by weaponized incompetence and the transformation that can occur with effort and communication. Communication is key.
Can I interject that?
Sure.
Also, back to friends and mentors, and we haven't focused to bounce ourselves off of, but remember, that couple is not you.
Right.
You are not that. Your couple, you as a couple with your significant other, is not that of a couple. And vice versa. You can talk and bounce off each other, but don't measure your success in your relationship by the couple that you're close knees with.
You always have to establish boundaries.
Boundaries are necessary. Necessary, like, just a clear example. My best friend, as much as I want to say, oh, you want to say, I hate what he doing to her? I do hate that. But if she chooses that to try to make it work, and he say, hell, let me turn this shit around, let me fix it. But she ain't going to say no what she ain't want it. She ain't that type. So if he decides to fix it, I can't go and say blah, 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 and be all rude to him when I see him. That's not my place. It's out of line. It's disrespectful.
Sorry.
And it ain't cool. I'm breaking the homie code because she confided in me. It ain't for me to run and rub it in his face, especially when he's made the proper changes. You get what I'm saying? And it's boundary, vice versa for a woman. Boundaries. Our relationships are not the same. We don't go have the same experiences, but we can be there to bounce ideas.
You always got to have that respect factor. As like we said earlier, marriage is a joint contract. It's like a business. Just a perfect example. You got Twitter X, and you got Facebook Meta. Elon Musk isn't going to go to Mark Zuckerberg's office and say, well, these employees aren't working for you. He can't go into Meta's office and just start firing people left and right. That's not his job. That's not, he can advise. He can, as a mutual accountability partner, saying, well, these things aren't working. I would advise that you do something like that. Or if you want my opinion, and that's if Mark Zuckerberg wants to take Elon's opinion at that time. Sometimes there's some things that are going on internally in the business where you feel like you have to handle things on your own.
Oh yeah.
And so that advice or that that word may not be needed or wanted at that time. But when they come out and they reach out to you and they're trying to see, well, what can I do to improve my business? And they ask for that work. They ask for that advice.
Yes.
And they're open to it, then by all means, But nobody's going into anybody else's business and just firing their employees or trying to say, well, hey, let's vote this guy out of, being a co-founder. You have no say. As another foreign business, you have no say in another person's business, And the
same goes in marriage.
Same thing in marriage. You have no say in who breaks up with who or who treats who any kind of way in any kind of and same thing vice versa with your nobody can come to your relationship, whether it be a best friend or Niji or a mother, father, sister, brother, niece, uncle, nephew, grandparents. I don't care. Nobody has say in your relationship. You are, like I told you earlier, you are the judge. You are the ultimate ruling. You and your spouse, you and your significant other are the only ones that choose the destiny of which path your relationship takes.
Which leads to, before we conclude, sharing the relatable perspectives from both parties. If we can share those.
Yeah, real life stories.
And figure out what harm has been caused by weaponized incompetence and what transformations need to be made, which we both just touched on. And then, I guess, conclude it and round it out with communication. Once we do that and we round that situation out with communication, again, if the changes come about, I can't carry that animosity. And I'm not going to let her experiences that she haven't affect my marriage. Which a lot of us do, vice versa. From the male perspective, what? Well, my boy, his woman done. And now look at this. And now you side-eyeing me a little bit because you were, well, I'm going through. And vice versa. But we cannot let... Are you okay? Hey, relax, please. Sit down, baby. We cannot let these different situations affect our marriage. And that goes for you as well. And then with the weaponized incompetence, that's a whole monster there. The thing here is just, again, before we conclude, finding out if this person is being intentional or it's unintentional. So if this is intentional, then do what you need to do. It's time to move on. If it's not intentional, give them an opportunity to make the change. And if they won't, do what you need to do.
Ultimately, the decision is between you all.
Now, I know we gave y'all an earful. Our call to action today is to encourage our listeners to reflect on your own behaviors and relationships.
Yeah, really think about it.
Really?
If you have to, if any of this rings true with you, take some time to sit down and really think about what's going on. Because communication, like we said, is key. And the hope for change is having self-awareness. And with that self-awareness comes teamwork. And when you have teamwork, the relationship will flourish. So you have to free yourself from the toxicity of weaponized incompetence. You guys know what it is now. You know what it be. So it's time to take what you learn and apply it.
Oh, yeah. And with that, Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. And we hope this helps. Look out for the next. We'll see you soon.
Peace.